Mic'd up.
Well, Adam's going to join us when he can, but welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast, our first show of the 2026 year. Although, if you're a Yankee fan, 2026 seems a lot like 2025 since nothing's happened. We're going to go through and talk about a couple of things, or at least I'm going to until Adam joins us. He's having some technical difficulties, I believe. He is going to join us when he can. I do want to say welcome for those of you who are new to watching us live. You can use the little record button at the bottom of the screen, and you will have 30 seconds to leave us a message. And you can leave us as many 30-second messages as you want. In some cases, people leave multiple messages, and that's how it works here on the Mic'd Up app for the time being. Working on different things and hoping that we can go through this. So, one of the first things I wanted to get off my chest, since it's going to be the Michael Miller bitch session, it sounds like, is off the top of my head. Listen, we haven't had any shows in a month. Why haven't we had any shows in a month? Because nothing's happened in a month. We did all the speculating and everything like that during the World Series and for a month after the World Series, but literally nothing has happened for the Yankees other than the Grisham fiasco, giving him the qualifying offer and having him to sit there for $22 million. A player is not $22 million. Of course, the Yankees were not the only team that made the stupid qualifying offer. The Reds got stuck, I believe, with Nick Martinez. The Tigers got stuck with Gleyber Torres. And others are also gotten caught in this whole BS. So, that's why we didn't have any shows. We don't have any shows because we rarely do make up stuff. And when we do, we're very clear that we're making stuff up because we have no inside information. We don't claim to have any inside information. We don't know anybody. Nobody likes us. Well, nobody likes Adam since he's not here. I can say that. Normally it's me that nobody likes. So we just make stuff up, but we tell you we're making stuff up because we want you guys to respond to us, whether it's on the show by leaving us a message or on our YouTube channel at Yankees Coast to Coast at YouTube. So the other thing is, while we're not against making any money, we certainly don't make any money from this podcast. And certainly nobody should have to pay for this crap because all we are is up here spewing forth what other bullshit that we know. And unless you're on the Yes Network and have to find content 24/7, although they do have their fair share of infomercials, or you're on Celestial Radio like the FAN or any of the ESPN New York stations or across the country for that matter, you're not paying, you're paying people to be there so they're going to make stuff up. But anybody who's watching these shows that are out there for these other podcasts, these guys are making stuff up. They don't know anything. I don't care if you are John Boy or your Fireside Yankees or anything like that. None of these guys know anything that's going on. Yeah, some of them do get some good guys to interview, and I do think John Boy does a good job of that. But most of these stations are a bunch of guys, or most of these podcasts are a bunch of guys like me, a bunch of idiots, some younger, some older, although fewer and far between are older than me and Adam. They don't have anything. They don't know anything better than us. Anything they say is just as worthless as whatever we say. Whatever they say is just as good as whatever Vinny Boombat says when he calls FAN, or Vinny from Queens, or Joe from Staten Island, or Manny from Rockland. It doesn't make a difference. We're all a bunch of talking heads, literally, because all you can see is my head. You don't even know if I have a body. I might be a frozen head, sort of like Disney or Ted Williams, but who knows? So we come on intermittently during the off season to talk about things when things happen or when things don't happen, just to bitch and moan. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is why aren't things happening for the Yankees? Quite frankly, the Yankees are doing nothing because Cashman and Hal are both at fault here. It's not one, it's not the other, it's both. What is the problem? It's Hal's fault because he keeps saying he won't spend over $300 million. And while I understand why he doesn't want to have to spend $300 million, he really is in a position where he could spend over $300 million. It doesn't make much of a difference with the Yankees' revenue. Yes, the Dodgers paid $168 million in luxury tax overages, and the Yankees paid their fair share. But the Yankees have more revenue than any other team, including the Dodgers, even with all the Japanese money they get from Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki. But Hal could afford it. But really, in reality, he shouldn't have to. He also is at fault here because for what, 20 years, or at least since 2009, he hasn't really held anybody accountable. And when I say anybody accountable, that's really Cashman. Cashman is the guy who has been in control of everything regarding this team for many, many years, getting credit for things that he deserves credit for and blame for things he doesn't do well. But when it comes to Cashman, Hal's got a blind spot. Okay? Cashman's behavior is bordering on the definition of insanity. He tries the same thing over and over again and expects different results. You can't build the lineup that is built solely on three true outcomes and not have a lineup that has some type of continuity and some type of balance in it, not just lefty righty balance, but I'm talking about contact balance as well as power balance, on base balance, and things like that. The teams in the 1990s, which were built by Gene Michael, were teams that were built on base percentage more than slugging percentage. On base percentage and contact is what he built his teams on. Yes, the Yankees ended up signing guys that brought in a lot of power, but even the guys they brought in that had a lot of power were guys that made contact, and Tino Martinez and other guys like that. Bernie was a pretty good contact guy. Jeter clearly was a contact guy over a power guy. Posada was, until the end, mostly a good high contact guy with power. So you had a lot of good things going on. But the Yankee teams today are built on one thing. Built on three things: exit velocity, home runs, and slugging. And that's really over and over again. You can't do that. The other thing that's a problem for the Yankees is, when has the Yankees developed a hitter who's gotten better with his time in the major leagues? The only one that I can think of in the last 15 years is Judge. And Judge got better after he went to his private hitting coach. He didn't get better because of the Yankee coaching. He got better because he went to a private hitting coach and decided to become a higher contact guy. Yes, he strikes out 150 times, but his selection at the plate is so much better. His hard contact rate has gotten so much better. His ability to lay off the slow breaking balls off the plate, low and away, has gotten so much better. And he didn't learn that while he was on the Yankees with the Yankee coaches. He learned that when he went to his private hitting coach. What am I talking about? Well, let's see a list of Yankee players who've come up who are being offense first players who turned out to not be nearly as good offensively as they were supposed to be, and got worse when they were on the Yankees, and may have even seen better days when they left the Yankees. Let's go with these guys. Rob Ruffschneider. He's had a long career now, and he's a left-handed pitching killer, but on the Yankees, he didn't do anything. Melky Cabrera won a batting title when he left the Yankees. Had a decent career. Yes, he got caught up in steroids, but he was a pretty good ball player. But he went backwards while he was on the Yankees. Gary Sanchez certainly went backwards on the Yankees. Nick Johnson came up with a house of fire, didn't do anything, disappeared. Miguel Andujar, still around in the majors, had a pretty good year last year, hit 280 with good doubles power once again for the Athletics. Again, we're not copywriting or trademarking that. Kyle Higashioka was a 20 home run hitter and had a good career outside of the Yankees. Luke Voigt peaked when he got up onto the Yankees and did nothing when he left, to be quite frank, but Yankees didn't do any favors with him. Gleyber Torres did not get better when he was on the Yankees. Brett Gardner even got worse over the years he was on the Yankees, if you want to go back any farther. Eduardo Nunez was supposed to be an offensive juggernaut, never became one. Francisco Cervelli had a couple of good years in Pittsburgh after he left the Yankees. Alfonso Soriano developed into it was a good hitter when he left the Yankees in the A-Rod trade, but developed into a 40-40 guy in Texas. Then do you want to talk about guys who were supposed to be very good players and turned out to be big zeros, not only with the Yankees, but also for lengths of their careers? Let's see. We've got Clint Frazier, Kevin Moss, Greg Bird, Tyler Austin, who's making his way back to the majors this year, Mike Ford, Tyler Wade, who's still in the majors, but has made a name for himself as a contact hitter, low batting average, great base runner, and good defender at short and second. Estevan Florial has done nothing since he left the Yankees in a trade to Cleveland. Oswaldo Peraza and Everson Pereira have also done nothing so far, but are still in the major leagues in various capacities. But these guys, as you can see, 10, 15 players that the Yankees had that were supposed to be offensive juggernauts, never developed and even got worse the longer they stayed on the Yankees. So what does that leave the Yankees with on their current roster? Well, they've got three offense-first young players who are on their roster. They are Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, and Jason Dominguez. Clearly, Volpe has gone backwards year over year. Dominguez came out like a house of fire, and he's gone backwards year after year offensively. And they moved him out of center field, which I think affected him offensively. And he's shown that he's not really a right-handed hitter so far. And the Yankees haven't been able to develop him into any type of right-handed hitter, which they were able to do with Bernie Williams back in the day. Bernie Williams was much better left-handed, but he developed into an okay right-handed hitter. And then you have Ben Rice. First full season with the Yankees was last year, and he had a fantastic season, among the hardest hitter hit rates in all of baseball during the 2025 season. But what will we see in 2026 with him? Are we going to see the same fallback for him as we've seen for Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez? I don't know. Austin Wells came up as an offense first catcher, turned into a defense first catcher and a defensive stud that he is. And he still has shown bits and pieces, but you can afford to have a defense first catcher. And as long as he's going to hit 20 home runs, which I think Wells is going to do, and if he hits 230, that'll be great too. But he's not the best hitter that he was supposed to be, and he's not gotten better as he's been on the Yankees 25-man roster. So what does that mean? On the horizon, the Yankees have Lombard Jr. and Spencer Jones. These guys are supposed to be terrific offensive players. Jones clearly has been up and down through his minor league career, but is he going to be anything at the major league level with his low contact rate? Yes, he has a hard hit rate. Jones is supposed to be on the team in 2026 at some point. Will he be? Nobody knows. And if he is, what will he provide? And then there's Lombard Jr., which really he's not supposed to be on the team until 2027. But the Yankees have an interesting infield situation right now with Volpe being hurt and the infielders being Jazz Chisholm, Caballero, Rosario, Cabrera, and McMahon. Maybe Lombard Jr. has to make his way up, especially if Volpe takes longer to recover from his injury. So one of the reasons the Yankees have probably not done very much and are not really able to make the types of trades to get an Eduardo Cabrera, not that I think he was the guy they should get, Eduardo Cabrera from the Marlins, is maybe people realize, hey, these Yankee hitters are nothing. They don't develop into anything. I would argue that they developed into decent hitters. Miguel Andujar, really, the Yankees beat the hell out of him mentally, but he's not a bad hitter right now in the major league level. But there's most of the guys the Yankees have had and developed either that they've traded away or ended up having to release or non-tender, like a Gary Sanchez, have turned out to be big nothing burgers when they've left the Yankees. And that really devalues even the Yankees' top prospects. So that's one of the reasons that they can't make some of the trades. But why does everybody think it's going to be any different with Ben Rice going forward? Why not take advantage and send Ben Rice away as part of a package with some of the pitching prospects that you have? And if Spencer Jones has any value or Dominguez has any value, figure out a way to make a package deal, because Yankees have been able to develop hard-throwing pitching prospects that have gone around the league to be relief pitchers. And in Michael King's case, not a good author, but a very good pitcher before he got hurt. So let's see what happens. And obviously, you also have Severino's also developed into a decent pitcher, although he can't pitch in Sacramento. He had a terrific year last year, not being injured with the Athletics. Again, we're not copyrighted or trademarking that name. But that might be the reason the Yankees have no deals, is they really have not had good player development. Yes, Jones and Lombard are in the top 100 prospects in Major League Baseball, but in reality, the Yankee prospects have not turned out to be anything. So let's look at what the history is. Who's at fault for all of these player development issues? Who's been at the helm this entire time? This has lasted throughout the Girardi years and certainly through the Boone campaign and the Boone staff. So what's the common denominator there? Brian Cashman. He keeps trying the same thing over and over again with the three true outcomes. Home runs, walks, and strikeouts are okay because those are the three outcomes. And he's not getting any players that are being developed. So is it the scouting? Or is it the way the Yankees scout, or is it the way the Yankees value players? I would argue it's all of the above, and all signs point to the top of the pyramid, and that's Brian Cashman. The Yankee base running has been awful. Everybody has acknowledged that it's been awful. It was a little better last year, but that's only because Jazz was a good base runner for the most part. But Dominguez and Volpe, who were good base runners, have gone backwards since they've been on the team. Judge is an excellent base runner. Goldschmidt was an excellent base runner. Bellinger was an excellent base runner. But Goldschmidt and Bellinger had 1 year on the Yankees so far, and they didn't do anything. So throughout the end of the Torre era, because of the early in the Torre era, they didn't really have to run because the perfect lineup where it was balanced from top to bottom with high contact hitters, combination of high averages, home runs, and on base percentage. But through the Girardi years and again through the Boone years, The Yankees have been awful base running. Is it the coaching? Is it the player development? Yes, it is. It's both of those. Who's at the top of the pyramid? Common denominator, Brian. The Yankees have been chasing hard hit. Hard hit. Hey, look who's there. It's Adam. Just going through my bitching and moaning about the Yankees. Now you have to tolerate it. The Yankees have been chasing hard hit contact rate and low contact rate. They were looking at the 3 true outcome players for all of these years without consideration for building a lineup from top to bottom, 1 to 9. Is it the way that they're developing players? Yes. Is it the players that they develop? Is it the players they bring in? Yes. And who's at the top of the pyramid? Again, common denominator, Brian Cashman. Last but not least, teams like the Dodgers and the Mets with similar money issues as the Yankees have, where they have more revenue than they know what to do with. They trade for or sign players with the creative contracts like an Ohtani, a Yamamoto, a Sasaki. Trade for a Tyler Glasnow. Figure out how to get Blake Snell in. Get Scott. Get a whole bunch of guys coming in. The Mets, even though they didn't work out with Verlander and Scherzer, figured out a way to have creative contracts. Figured out a way to get Soto on their roster. Yankees, nothing. Same old thing. No creativity in the contract signing realm whatsoever. And no trading with regard to, no creativity with regard to trades either. Again, who's at fault there? That one comes to the top of the pyramid. Common denominator, Brian Cashman. And last but not least, why is Hal not holding Cashman's feet to the fire? The bottom line is this. Cashman is family. He might as well have the last name Steinbrenner. Since Hank died, which was Hal's only brother, Cashman is his brother. And that's why Cashman can get away with everything he gets away with. So that's my thing. I just went through all the problems the Yankees had, listed off the 15 players and all the different things that are going on, and laid it at the feet of Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner.